Hello once again, it's Dan here in Virginia. Thought I'd give you a little quick video on something I got from Santa Claus. I got a Hobby King Bixler 3. You can see this wing here. This is quite the wing. It's 5 feet, 1 inch long. It's got some real good spars in it, also aluminum spars. Goes together well, and it's got optional flaps, which I'm not going to run. So unlike most airplanes, instead of having to cut the little foam out to make the flaps work, I had to add these little tabs right here, little foam blocks, glue them in because I don't want the flaps. So that's one thing that was odd about it, and it's got several other serious design flaws that I'll point out as we go along. Here's the body. It's clamshell type. You got to glue up, and I'm going to be running Turnigy 2200 milliamp batteries. I have a Fly Sky radio, and this is one of the 6-channel receivers. Excellent radio for, I don't know, less than 60 bucks. It's 20 model memory. I really like it. And I always like to run a Orange RX 3-channel gyro. Really helps when you're flying in the wind, keeps you from fighting it so much. In this particular plane, I'm going to run a Turnigy 30 amp ESC because I'm running a Turnigy motor. I forget the numbers. I don't have the numbers. It's the Turnigy 2836. I could tell you later, but this is a motor that's recommended by aftermarket motor. This is a kit, didn't come with a motor, so you had to buy a motor. It's a very stout motor. When I test ran it, it's got a lot of torque. I always sort of grab them by the shaft and see if I can stop them with my fingers. I can't stop this one. It's got a lot of torque. So anyway, I've got her glued up, but some things I wanted to point out about this thing that really, you can see this motor pod here. This motor pod has a plastic motor mount down inside here. And so you have to screw the motor onto the plastic motor mount, and then the motor mount is squeezed and glued inside this fuselage. So if you ever damage the motor, you're screwed. You can't get the motor out of this airplane without breaking this off. Another thing that's really bad about it is the ailerons. If you can see right here, the elevator and the rudder servos. Can you see? Maybe you can see down inside there. That is the servo that goes into the side of the fuselage if you can get it there. And there's one over here. This is the elevator and the rudder servos. Believe me, it's all but impossible to get them in that position. You can't get them in, get the horn on, and then how do you get the screw up into the horn? And you can't get the control rod hooked onto them and do all that. So after several nights frustration, I finally got a tip from a guy online. He says, well, the only way I know to do it is you simply, and you can't see it now because I have it taped over, but you have to estimate where you need it and take a sharp Phillips screwdriver and poke it right about here, poke it straight down through the foam, and hope that you hit that little screw that holds the horn on. So another thing I think is a really poor design. So again, these are now hot melt glued in here, and if they ever break, I don't know what I'll do. You're screwed. So those are the couple of things I don't like about it. Another thing I didn't like is when you buy the airplane, you can't see it now because I have it taped over, but right here they had a mud scoop, a hole they use for cooling. Well, you can imagine when I'm going to fly this thing without wheels. It comes with wheels, but they are so small they'd be useless on anything but a perfectly smooth asphalt runway. They're no good for grass. They're way too small. Also comes with has a steerable tail wheel, which I have taken off, and I put a little hump back here. I cut this off, my old Dynam Hux guy, and hot melt glued that on for a skid instead of a tail wheel. And this hole here where the tail wheel would normally go, I'm going to use as a screw hole to hold the tail feathers on. And then I've also made an extra hole up front here in the fuselage. So between these two holes right here, and I put some plastic plugs in there, like you might put in a drywall, put them up in there. You mount this up, and I'll run a couple screws up in there so you can remove this. They wanted you to glue those on permanently, so you'd have to break them off if you need to work on it. So those things in mind, they say it's a nice flyer, and when I get it together, we'll find out it's got plenty of room down inside here. You can see the battery bay down in here. It goes way up inside, so you can slide the battery back and forth. But I'm told it still needs weight in the front. I'll find out. Someone said with this size battery, I'm still going to have to add weight in the front. So I can do that. Take an old lead sinker and beat it with a hammer, mash it down, and then see how much weight I need, and then glue it in the front with some epoxy. Here's the canopy. It goes on here, nice magnet, nice little catch on the front. Now this is what I call, here's my take on an air scoop. I took a drill, here's the air scoop right here, plugged up the mud scoop, made an air scoop. The air will go right in, come right back here. The ESC will be mounted right underneath here, and it will come back and comes out these little side vents. So I also like to run an aircraft finder. It's a little thing you can get from Hobby King. I think they're only about $2-3. I don't know if you can see it right here in the side of the aircraft. This little wire, you just simply plug it into any channel, any open channel on your radio, and then you assign a switch to it, one of your switches that aren't used. And so if your airplane goes down, you just flip the switch, and this thing right here will just start beeping like crazy. And it's not the loudest, so I brought it out the side of the airplane, tried to blend it in with this blue color here so it's not so noticeable. But so that's about it. I'm waiting on some Hobby King parts. I had a bunch of these. I'm running these banana connectors, and I'm waiting on some to put on the ESC. You have to extend the wires on the ESC. You have to get some banana clips to go right here. And I guess the stock motor comes with really long wires, but this being an aftermarket motor, you can see that the wires are short, and I'm sure I'll run them inside here. I made the wires just long enough that they'll work out just fine. So I think that's about it. They say it's a fun flyer. Like I said, it was a Christmas gift, so for that I'm very thankful, and we'll see how she does. I'll give you an update later on.